Ronan O'Gara, good morning to you.
Hey Adrian, how are you?
How are you keeping?
Very well, yourself?
The nice quiet run into the season continues. Congratulations. We don't generally take time to say well done.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's back to another Champions Cup final, so it's fantastic. Yeah, very exciting. And then more immediately, top 14 game against Stade Francais tomorrow. So that's a huge game. So it's all big games, which makes it easy for everybody.
Do you give yourself time to congratulate yourself or enjoy the moment appreciate the moment of two finals in back to back is phenomenal?
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's great. But you want to try to win these finals. That's the next step, and there's people involved at that level understand that it's multi-dimensional to do that. So it's a process, but it is very exciting. Yeah, I did enjoy the end of the game with Donegal Ryan the last day because we played poorly, but it says something about our team to be able to win a semi-final playing poorly, and that's the most important thing. Semi-finals are all about getting to the final, and then in the final you obviously want to try and find a way to win a final, but I think you got to appreciate the small wins. It's very, very important.
How much time do you spend doing that? I knew you were going to say to me, listen, it's grand to get to the final, but you got to be winning them, and definitely. And maybe is there any part of you that's like, right, that's a story for another day, but for today, we enjoy this, we sit down as a group, we pat each other on the back about it, or, yeah, when you're enjoying it with Donegal on the pitches, it's sort of like, that's it, done, and we move on?
Well, it was a 6-day turnaround, that's always probably there. So you play Sunday evening, and all of a sudden the boys are recovering Monday, you're into Tuesday, and players need rest as well, and all of a sudden you arrive at Thursday and you've Stade Francais in 48 hours. So I think this Champions Cup semi-final is a huge event in itself. But I suppose before that we knew that Stade Francais was 6 days later, so there was an eye in terms of how we're going to recover. The planning was hugely important, and I think this week has gone well. We'll have a captain's run later on today, and then play tomorrow, and then after tomorrow you can start focusing on Marseille.
Is your sense that the focus on Marseille, a lot of the homework can be carried over from last year, or is it a completely blank canvas when it comes to that prep?
Yeah, it's completely blank canvas I think it's of, I suppose, even little significance in the fact that it was a game behind closed doors, and when you look back at that game, there's no emotion really in it, in the fact, because the place was empty. It was a soulless game, and so much has happened for both teams between that. It's different teams, different players. For me, it would be kind of an error to look at that as the focal point of your week. Leinster have got better, we've got better. I think it means very little. How have you got better?
Or what have you got better at?
I think in all parts of our game, you just, you get better, you get beaten, so you have to be. And I think mentally we've got better. I think in terms of how we play the game, I think our understanding of what kind of we want to do in different areas of the pitch has got better. But probably where we haven't got better is in terms of an 80-minute performance. And if we're to challenge Leinster, we'll need that 80-minute performance. But I think that's possible with the maybe with the experience of players we have here.
How different is it going to be for you to plan for a game with, I was looking at the Leinster team last night, there'll probably be 6 or so changes to the team that played you that day to the team that played you the next day. Injuries in the meantime notwithstanding, but the half-back pairing particularly should be different in that it'll probably be Gibson Park and Sexton. How different is it for you to prep for a game where Sexton's at 10?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, they have huge belief in what they want to do and how they want to play the game. So, Johnny Sexton's obviously a fantastic player, and he adds a lot to that team. But when Ross Byrne plays as well, he's very, very good in playing the way Leinster play. So Yeah, Johnny has a lot of X factor to him, and the fact that he's hugely experienced, and there isn't anyone more experienced in managing a game. So it'll be a different threat with him. They're most definitely driving that team around. And obviously Jameson Gibson Park's in the form of his life. I think he's playing sensational rugby, and it's just disappointing, I suppose, from my point of view, that we didn't have, a Carbarlo going against him. So from our point of view, it's already, 3 of the 4 halfbacks are probably going to be different. So it's a different game even before you start thinking about it.
How do you stop Sexton from controlling the game?
Well, you've got to deprive them of the ball. That's where Leinster are exceptional in terms of their ruck speed and in terms of, I suppose, control and possession. That's where they've had advantage over other teams. So from our point of view is that if we can try and get 48% possession, 50% possession, 52% possession, 55% possession, that will probably put us in a good position in the game.
Can I ask you about Ohio West last weekend, Ronan? As somebody who maybe struggled a little bit off the tee during the match and then obviously gets the pivotal score late on in the game. Were you thinking to yourself, I've been that soldier out there myself? Does it help you relate to him given the position you played as a professional rugby player?
Yeah, I understand it exactly, but I think where I back him is the fact that I see the work he's doing, I suppose, in the shade or behind the scenes. So he's working hard and on his goal kick, and I think that's very, very important. It'd be different if it was kind of, we'll see how it goes on the day attitude. It's the opposite of that. So from my point of view, I've seen his timing around the goal kicking has hugely improved. I think, it's fascinating what pressure sometimes does, and hopefully that's probably great learning from last weekend. Was it the fact that he tightened up a little bit, that he made him push his kicks? But I think from knowing his character, I would be pretty surprised if he repeats that in the next game.
Is there ever a consideration mid-game? I think the answer to this question is no, given what you've just said, but is there ever a consideration to pull somebody off the kicking, or is that and not even about West in general here, but as a more general point, is that ever a consideration for a coach, given the extra damage that could do to a player's confidence?
Yeah, it is. The easy thing would be to say no, it isn't, but you're right. I think every kind of possibility goes through your head. What's best for the team? How do we get over the finishing line here in first place? So you've got to contemplate every single thing, and that's, I think, why we have to stay on as coaches and stay on as decision makers. And the fact that you may see something and your gut reaction could say, okay, pull the trigger on that and do that, but you're obviously it can't come into your head that I'm hurting some players' emotions here by withdrawing them from the fray. You have to think of everything live, I suppose, replacements in a game, and that's my job.
And I presume the later in the season it gets, the more acute that feeling is, because there isn't a whole pile of extra games in which the confidence can be there for the stakes get higher, the importance of each game gets bigger.
Exactly, and that's the life of a kicker, and the life of a kicker comes to life in big pressure games, and that's the point we've discussed in the show on many occasions. Pressure might only hit you once a season. It may not hit you. It could hit you 2 or 3 times a season. But I think goal kickers understand that, and they realise what's involved in that. But I think to neutralise that, or to make yourself feel confident, you draw confidence from the amount of work you have done, I suppose, off the pitch in terms of Monday to Friday, and then you're looking for transfer on game day.
Are those decisions always straightforward, Ronan, just like that call there about like taking a player off, that like the human condition about inertia, that you just keep going and you hope and pray that it's going to come right, but in that moment obviously you got a really finite window to say we got to change this? Are those calls always really clear? Are you always sure you're doing the right thing, or are you always second guessing yourself?
No, I don't know. You're second guessing yourself, but sometimes, to go back to what you said at the start of the question, that's the definition of insanity. Is letting the same scenario repeat itself and not providing a solution for it. So
do you ever think about the long-term impact? Like you mentioned just about Ohio West there, and like you can't think about his, I can't remember the word used, maybe emotions or whatever, but like there's also your longer term responsibility to him to get the best out of him for the next game, or selfishly and for him personally. Are you ever thinking about that stuff, or is it just I got to fix this right now and here we go?
No, you have to be. It's a global vision that's involved in this, and the most important thing is is that you have a consideration for your player and you have a huge responsibility mentally for him, but you also have a responsibility for what's best for the team. And I think it's very hard, I think, for us to probably generalize about this because it's such a super specific subject matter. So yeah, you have to be conscious of the impact you're going to have on the person, but also the impact you're going to have on the team. And if one person has to suffer for 40 others, then sometimes that's what's best in sport. But you have to be very aware of I suppose, the potential harmful consequences you may cause to an individual.
Is possession that you talked about there, trying to get it up above that 50% mark, is that the best way to not nullify but diminish Leinster's quick ruck speed?
Yeah, we have to attack. You know, if you attack, you need the ball. So to need the ball, you have to be very, very, I suppose, focused on how you want to play the game. If we play the game like we did in Lens, then we turn over the ball and 8 to 10 times really poorly. So against a top team like Leinster, that's going to put you in trouble, in deep trouble. So for us, we've seen that, you know, in terms of just irrespective of what the opposition is, there are certain things, fundamentals in our game that we need to be better at, and it also becomes more difficult when you're up against the most performing team in the competition so far this year.
They're like, it's funny that two teams are maybe similar in loads of ways. The excitement that they bring to the play, the KBA approach, that maybe, as you say, it wasn't everything you wanted to be at the weekend, but they're also sort of slightly different in other ways, in the sense that, like, maybe your team play a lot more what's in front of them, and Leinster's excitement almost comes from a bit more structure. Is that your reading of it?
I actually don't know much in terms of what happens at Leinster behind the scenes, obviously, and how they go about it. But from our point of view, there's big preparation in how we prepare to play and how we want to play the game. I would say I would be also a firm believer in you get the best of an individual if he can play freely. What does playing freely look like? I think that his brain isn't cluttered with too much information, but also there's a strict framework around how we want to play. You can't just expect to go to a final and trust your instincts. That for me is nonsense. So yeah, we'll have certain things that we are not diluting our game with, but I think it's very important when you have scenarios which are, I suppose, in the chaos, that players have the capacity to accelerate and take decisions that they feel are best in the moment.
Is Will Skelton going to play?
No, he won't be playing this weekend anyway, unless I have a medical meeting at lunchtime today. It's a day-by-day process with Will, but very important player for this group, for what we want to do in Europe, what we want to do in the top 14. So, you know, I think I've spoken to him. I've told him that I expect to see him at pre-season, but I don't think he accepts that, so we'll wait and see.
Chance whatever about this weekend, chance that he's fit for the following?
There's a chance in everything.
You're saying there's a chance. I think, at what point over the weeks between a semi-final and a final, and feel free to bring in your playing experience here as well, do nerves start to set in, or does the sense of expectation and occasion set in?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Something we'll have to address as a group as well, because it's the feedback from the semi-final was that boys were nervous, which shouldn't be a surprise, yet it probably shook me a little bit in the fact that I was thinking it's a semi-final of a Champions Cup. It's against a French team. We know these guys inside out. We know what their strengths are. We know where their weaknesses are. So we should be okay. But you forget that the Champions Cup semi-final is still very, very special, and that I suppose really, I suppose, crystallised at the start of this conversation was you're getting to another Champions Cup final is a fantastic achievement, and the boys aren't robots, and they've huge feelings, and they're going to be very excited. And Marseille is a special stadium. It's going to be pumping, and yeah, it's something that will definitely have an impact, because I think as a player, when you pass as a coach, you quickly forget what it feels like as a player. And I remember, obviously, my first European Cup final, and physically I was there, but mentally you weren't there. So there's so much, I suppose, when you get to a certain experience or age, you appreciate that strategy is hugely important. But if the strategy is completely passing over their heads in the live action, then it shows that we haven't, I suppose, prepared our players well enough mentally to be able to be performing in such a big occasion.
Are the nerves at a similar level when you have your first experience as an out half in a final compared to your first experience as a head coach in a final?
No, poles apart, I think. It's just, no, I don't have nerves as a coach. It's strange, I just don't. I kind of made that commitment to myself. I couldn't continue, as I said, as I operated as a player, as I did as a coach. It's not sustainable. It's not enjoyable. It's glass half empty, glass 9/10 empty, actually. So for me, that's not an interesting way to live my life anymore. I kind of find the good, the opportunity, the possibilities in what's in store in the day, in the next few hours, in the next few weeks, in the next few months. So what an occasion. It's La Rochelle against Leinster in the Champions Cup final. I would have done anything at the start of the season to get this. That's the honest response to your question, and I'm going to enjoy the week, and I'm going to enjoy the game, and I genuinely am.
Because you've alluded to that on the show before, and I often wonder how you do that, because it's easy to say be less nervous, worry less, stop being so negative, but
you
actually
care
going
about something so much, Jesus,
yeah. How did you manage to arrive at that point where you've actually achieved that?
I think that's what experience is. That's what we all understand. What experience tells you, that when you have the same situation, you want to do it better the next time. I think it's between different teams. I think I'm going to my 7th Champions Cup final, so it's fantastic, and that's something that I gotta embrace and gotta enjoy and got to be really, really happy with. And you can't just be an act. You've got to be genuine. You've got to be authentic, and this has got to be the way you are in front of your players, in front of the public, in front of the supporters. And I genuinely feel that I've prepared the team well. I can sleep at night. I enjoy the journey. I want to make this a special time for the players in this club. So I can't guarantee that we're going to win the thing. Far from it, but you're going to give it your best shot, and I think that sits well with me.
Yeah, I think for the rest of us looking in, we're interested to see, is Ronan O'Gara, the coach, going to be as good as Ronan O'Gara, the player? Probably not a fair question to ask you, but and you're bang in the middle of it as well. So Des has an interesting question in here, and it's obviously the penultimate weekend of top 14 games as well, and you're agonisingly close now to squeaking into that top 6. He was asking if you can ask Rog how he feels about Leinster resting players this weekend, and maybe more importantly, you having to play a crunch match.
I don't think it's of. I don't think you can compare the two. It's two completely different scenarios. And for us, I'll comment on what I control and what we're doing. And that's we've picked a team to beat Stade Francais tomorrow because of what has happened previously, and because of the duration and the intensity of the top 14. There are players picked tomorrow that won't be playing in Marseille, and that's the way it is. You have to kind of believe in your planning, believe in your group. So for me, it's a fantastic situation where we're alive in both competitions, a competition with so much history and prestige in the top 14, and so much interest, but also we're down to the final 2 in the Champions Cup. So yeah, everything is carefully planned. Team selection is hugely important. What Leinster do. What we do, I can control.
Just before we let you off, I wanted to ask you at the top, just we were having that chat about the reaction post the game. What's the buzz like when you get in home after a game like that? Is everybody at home tuned in to the fact that Dad's going to be coming back? This is a good day. He's going to be happy. Or the train is still alive here, or could they give two hoots about it?
In the day, Jess was more interested. Was I doing the school run Monday morning at 7 o'clock?
Well, she was tweeting about, was it Rochelle?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not up to speed with her social media. But, if she's not on the beach horse riding, then she's tweeting. So just need to keep an eye on her.
And what about the kids? Are they attuned to everything that's going on, or no?
Yeah, they love it.
Do they?
Absolutely love it. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they were gutted. They weren't in Lawns, which is probably, I'd say, the first time ever for Champions Cup semi-final that the families weren't there. But there was no planes available. Really, out there was planes available. They were at bizarre prices. It's an 8-hour bus trip one way, so like 16 hours on a Sunday with school the next day. It doesn't work. So it's great. It puts everything in perspective. You know, the show goes on. We're all consumed by a Champions Cup final, but the great thing is that we have our health, and there'll be a Monday morning irrespective after Marseille.
And they'll go to Marseille with you, I presume?
Yes, they will. Yeah, they'll be there, absolutely. And yeah, hopefully my brothers can get on a few of the Leinster flights coming out of Dublin to Marseille as well.
Just to mix it up with a bit of yellow. Absolutely. Why not? Why not? Good man. Listen, best of luck over the next few weeks. Thanks.
Yes. See you, boys. Thanks
a lot. Ronan O'Gara on the line there. It's 10 minutes past 9. It's Friday morning. We're watching OTB AM.